Beyond the one-dimensional screen, Marcuse's critique and the Muslim filmmaker's vision. Assalamu alaikum, dear listeners and fellow Muslim filmmakers. Welcome to the next episode in our series exploring the intersection of faith, media, and creativity. Today, we're examining the powerful ideas of philosopher Herbert Marcuse and how his critique of modern society offers valuable insights for Muslim creators working in film and media. Have you ever felt that mainstream media seems to promote the same limited worldview, the same values, the same definition of success? Have you wondered why certain perspectives, including authentic Islamic ones, struggle to find expression in popular culture? Today, we'll explore how Marcuse's concept of one-dimensional thinking helps explain these patterns and how Muslim filmmakers can offer a meaningful alternative. Understanding Marcuse's one-dimensional man. Herbert Marcuse was a German-American philosopher whose 1964 book, One-Dimensional Man, offered a profound critique of advanced industrial societies, particularly Western capitalist ones. Though writing from a secular perspective, his analysis reveals patterns that resonate with Islamic concerns about materialism and spiritual emptiness in modern life. Marcuse argued that modern industrial societies create one-dimensional individuals who conform to existing social structures and norms without questioning them. This conformity leads to a loss of individuality, freedom, and the capacity for critical, independent thought. People become integrated into a system that shapes their desires, thoughts, and behaviors in ways that serve the existing power structure. From an Islamic perspective, we might see parallels with the Quranic warning against following the majority without discernment. And if you obey most of those upon the earth, they will mislead you from the way of Allah. Quran 6:116. Both Marcuse and Islamic teachings caution against uncritical acceptance of dominant social patterns. False needs and consumer culture. One of Marcuse's key insights was his distinction between true needs, essential for well-being, and false needs, imposed by society through consumer culture and mass media. He argued that people are conditioned to pursue false needs, which integrate them into the system and prevent them from recognizing or challenging their own repression. Think about how many films and TV shows portray happiness as achievable through consumption. The right car, the right clothes, the right home. These narratives rarely question whether material acquisition actually leads to fulfillment. The Islamic tradition offers a powerful counter-narrative to this consumer-driven worldview. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, taught, "True richness is not having many possessions, but true richness is the richness of the soul." Islam encourages us to distinguish between needs and wants, to practice contentment, and to recognize that spiritual fulfillment cannot come from material acquisition alone. As Muslim filmmakers, we have the opportunity to create stories that challenge the equation of happiness with consumption. We can portray characters who find meaning through faith, community, and service rather than acquisition. We can explore the emptiness that often follows material success when it's divorced from spiritual purpose. Technology, media, and social control. Marcuse also critiqued the way technological progress is used to reinforce social control rather than liberate individuals. Technology, instead of being a tool for emancipation, becomes a means of domination, shaping desires and behaviors to fit the interests of those in power. This insight is particularly relevant to media technology. Films, television, social media, these aren't neutral tools. They're shaped by specific values and interests, and they in turn shape how we see the world and ourselves. Consider how mainstream media often portrays Muslims and Islamic values. These portrayals aren't random. They reflect and reinforce particular political and cultural narratives. When Muslims are consistently shown as either threats or victims, these representations limit how both Muslims and non-Muslims understand Islamic identity. The Quran reminds us to be discerning about the information we receive. O you who have believed, if there comes to you a disobedient one with information, investigate, lest you harm a people out of ignorance and become, over what you have done, regretful. Quran 49:6. This principle of verification and critical thinking applies to media consumption as well. The suppression of alternative visions. Another key aspect of Marcuse's critique is how advanced industrial society absorbs and neutralizes opposition, making radical change seem both unnecessary and impossible. The result is a society where alternative ways of thinking and living are marginalized or dismissed. And have you noticed how even the most radical ideas can be commodified and made safe for consumption? Revolutionary figures become t-shirt designs, calls for justice become marketing slogans. This process of absorption neutralizes the transformative potential of alternative visions. For Muslim filmmakers, this presents a particular challenge. How do we present Islamic perspectives in ways that resist being watered down or absorbed into the dominant narrative? How do we maintain the distinctiveness and transformative potential of our worldview while still engaging with broader audiences? The answer isn't to retreat into isolation or to create content only for Muslim audiences. Rather, it's to approach filmmaking with clarity about our values and purpose. When we're grounded in Islamic principles, we can engage with mainstream culture without being absorbed by it. We can offer alternatives that maintain their integrity and transformative potential. Finding hope in marginalized perspectives. Despite his pessimism about the prospects for change, Marcuse suggested that hope lies with marginalized groups who remain outside the dominant order. He called for the revival of critical, negative thinking that can imagine and strive for genuine alternatives to the status quo. As Muslims in Western contexts, we often occupy this kind of marginalized position. While this brings challenges, it also offers a unique vantage point. We can see aspects of society that may be invisible to those fully integrated within it. We can offer perspectives that challenge dominant assumptions about success, happiness, community, and purpose. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, began his mission as a voice from the margins, challenging the dominant power structures and values of Meccan society. The Quran itself came as a transformative message that questioned established patterns of thought and behavior. There is a long Islamic tradition of speaking truth from the margins. As Muslim filmmakers, we can draw strength from this tradition. Our marginalized perspectives aren't a weakness, but a potential source of insight and creativity. By bringing Islamic values into dialogue with contemporary issues, we can offer fresh perspectives on challenges facing all of humanity. The Muslim filmmaker's response to one-dimensionality. So how can we as Muslim filmmakers respond to the one-dimensional thinking that Marcuse identified? How can we create work that opens up new dimensions of thought and experience? First, we can practice and promote critical thinking. Our films can raise questions rather than simply reinforcing existing answers. They can invite viewers to examine assumptions about success, happiness, justice, and community. By creating space for reflection, we counter the passive consumption that characterizes one-dimensional thinking. Second, we can portray authentic alternatives. Our stories can show characters living according to Islamic values not as an exotic curiosity, but as a viable and fulfilling way of life. We can depict the beauty of faith, the strength of community, and the peace that comes from alignment with divine guidance. Third, we can engage with complexity. One-dimensional thinking reduces everything to simple binaries and easy answers. Islamic tradition, by contrast, has always engaged with the complexity of human experience. Our films can reflect this nuance, avoiding both simplistic propaganda and moral relativism. For instance, instead of creating stories where characters are either perfectly pious or completely corrupted, we might explore the struggles of Muslims trying to live faithfully in challenging circumstances. Instead of portraying Western society as either entirely corrupt or uncritically ideal, we might examine its complexities through an Islamic lens. Practical applications for Muslim filmmakers. Let's consider some practical ways to apply these insights in our work. Question dominant narratives. When developing stories, ask how your film might challenge rather than reinforce mainstream assumptions about success, relationships, or purpose. Explore spiritual dimensions. Incorporate the spiritual aspects of life that are often absent from mainstream media. Show characters wrestling with questions of faith, purpose, and meaning. Portray diverse Muslim experiences. Counter one-dimensional representations of Muslims by showing the diversity within our communities. Avoid both apologetic portrayals that try to make Islam palatable to Western audiences and reactionary portrayals that define Islam solely in opposition to the West. Engage with universal themes through an Islamic lens. Stories about justice, mercy, forgiveness, and redemption have universal appeal. By approaching these themes from an Islamic perspective, we can create work that resonates broadly while maintaining its distinctive character. Use innovative forms and techniques. Experiment with storytelling approaches that break from conventional Hollywood formulas. Islamic artistic traditions offer rich resources for alternative aesthetic approaches. Remember that you don't need massive budgets or mainstream distribution to create impactful work. Some of the most powerful films come from independent creators working with limited resources but clear vision and purpose. Conclusion: beyond one-dimensional media. Brothers and sisters, Herbert Marcuse's critique of one-dimensional society offers valuable insights for Muslim filmmakers navigating a media landscape that often marginalizes or misrepresents our perspectives. By understanding the forces that shape mainstream media, we can more effectively create meaningful alternatives. The challenge before us isn't simply to create Islamic versions of mainstream entertainment. Rather, it's to offer a genuinely different dimension of thought and experience, one that reconnects media with spiritual purpose, ethical values, and authentic human needs. The Quran tells us, "Thus we have made you a just community, that you will be witnesses over the people." 2:143. As Muslim filmmakers, we have the opportunity to bear witness to a different way of seeing and being in the world. Our work can open dimensions of thought and experience that mainstream media often neglects or suppresses. May Allah guide our creative endeavors and purify our intentions. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.